Let's try this live thing again, and this time I will be watching the chat because this is not pre-recorded. This is me live, just going live, doing my thing. And I got some interesting questions hopefully today because I have been going down that Mackenzie Shirilla rabbit hole, trying to iron out the things in the case that are harder to find. And yes, when you start searching long enough and for certain things, the algorithm changes and starts showing you different videos and you get different information. That's the problem with the algorithm. If you're only looking for one sort of information on Mackenzie's case, you're going to get that. So I'm also going to be I'm recording on TikTok. So for 10 minutes, I'll be looking between both cameras for YouTube and TikTok because I'm going to be doing a little bit of both. So, all right, let's get started. So, one of the things I came across, there's a couple big questions I have today. Because one, like I said in my last video, nobody's looking any deeper into Dom because he's a victim. And yes, he is a victim. So nobody's looking deeper into him. And anybody who asks questions, it's kind of like the whole Erica Kirk situation. Nobody wanted to let you ask any questions about Erica because she's the widow. But we know that Dom was an adult. We know that he had zero money problems. And why? Because he was a dealer. And this is what brings me to my next question. Somehow, okay, so Mackenzie knew, I should grab my notes. I did write notes on this. So she knew Landon Turner, also known as Bubba, who's dating Mackenzie. Or not Mackenzie, sorry, Rosie. Bubba and Rosie are together. What's weird is Bubba says he's the top of the chain. And I know sometimes top of the chains need from people a little lower than them. But so people said that Mackenzie was at the crash site 3 days prior to, and this is what gives people, oh, she was planning this. Actually, I think she was there because of Rosie. And I got a good reason why she was there because of Rosie. Let me tell you. She was there because of Rosie because... So the crash happened around 5:30 in the morning. Rosie saw the crash at 6 a.m. She did not know it was Mackenzie and Dom and Davian. She, does what people in her lifestyle do. Pass up the crash. Doesn't even check on, see if people are in there. She doesn't do anything. And she drives by. 15 minutes later, the crash gets reported. So why was Rosie in that area to see the crash? She was going about her morning things. And some people say there are text messages between her and Mackenzie because Rosie wanted something and Mackenzie was trying to figure out how to get it to her. Now, second, so now we established kind of why Mackenzie might have been on this road besides scoping it out. And when you crash a car at somewhere between 85 to 100 miles per hour, you know you're not going to live through that, right? Right. So, but she is a teenager mind, and everybody needs to quit acting like they've never been a teen. Okay, I'm a teen from the 90s. So there was this cop who said he went over the road at 55 miles per hour, and it's a really bumpy road, and there's no way no way Mackenzie could go over the road at 50 or at 100 miles per hour. Now, here's the thing though. On the camera that caught Mackenzie's car going down the road, they say if you turn up the volume, you could hear Dom and Davian screaming, "No, stop the car, no." Which I watched those videos, and if that's true, and I'll show it on the YT. So in a minute, you guys will get to see those videos, because I did save a couple of those videos. So, and they said there was a hard yank on the wheel. So that means somebody, either Mackenzie, and what's interesting, and I'll show this on the YT because I found something very interesting, is they showed the position that the bodies were in. And if you take a hard right and you're a tiny person like Mackenzie, that explains why her body was laying down like this, because they said all of a sudden the car just took a hard right. So after it hits the curb and the car kicks in and starts slowing down, a hard right is taken. And some people are like, no, that's Dom grabbing the steering wheel. He's saving himself from him and Mackenzie. And it's like, but she was, I think she took a hard right, and then when the crash happened, her body was already that way because she took that hard right. And here's the thing. I live in Utah, okay? And I'm going to tell you a tiny story real quick. I live in Utah. And I grew up on the west side. I don't ever go on the east side. That's called the Avenues. I went to West High. It's on the border of the west side and the east side. One night, I was out with my friends. There were 6 of us in this truck. None of us were wearing seatbelts. I'm one of those kids in the 90s that doesn't know how I'm still sitting here today to tell you guys these stories, because I shouldn't be sitting here today to tell you this story. But here we go. The Avenues are they sit on the hill, on the mountain, on the east side of Salt Lake. Capitol Hill. Like anybody who lives in Salt Lake knows what I'm talking about when you're talking about Capitol Hill. And the roads go down, and then the intersections, and then they go down, and then there's an intersection, and so it goes like this. It's not a straight road. It's worse than the road Mackenzie was on. I don't know how fast the guy John that was driving went down that road, but he went through it so fast. I don't know how many stop signs we blew through, and it felt a little bumpy but mostly smooth. And at the end of, as soon as we got to the bottom of the hill, he saw the truck and he was like, wow, we are so lucky. Because immediately we were like, how many stop signs and how many intersections did we blow through? Kids do stupid things. And somehow some of us are still sitting here today. I have friends who've been in accidents and broke their backs, and they're not paralyzed. My ex-husband, 2 years after I left him, he's paralyzed. People do crazy things that they think is normal, everyday things that they've done before. They've done it before again and again and again. And then one day something changes and they do it again. And this time it's damaging or fatal. That's how my ex got paralyzed. Every weekend, he spent every weekend biking the same trail over and over and over and over again. Until one day, he didn't realize that it had rained so hard the night before that the trail had shifted. So what I think happened to Mackenzie is everybody says she normally sped at 90 miles per hour. There is videos of her doing this. She is a reckless driver that no one took this driver's license away from. She is a reckless person. And this reckless person sped down the road at 100 miles per hour and hit an intersection and panicked not. Oh, I got another story about panicking and not knowing how to go left or right at an intersection that you have crossed before. So yes, in a way I'm sticking up for Mackenzie because I've been there, done that. Okay, so on the YT I'll tell this. Let me know if you maybe I should make a short video and tell this one on the TikTok. And but I'm gonna tell this on the YT because this is up on the TikTok. But let me know what you guys think because I'm searching this whole thing and going down the rabbit hole, and we need to talk more about Rosie and Bubba and the mom and what they're covering up. We do. So anyways, let's get started. So I have this story. So I had my learner's permit at 15 this one summer. My birthday's in August. I turned 16 in August. And my mom says you can't get your driver's license unless you have good grades. So I had my learner's permit. And somehow my friend's brother, I don't know what he was thinking, to loan a bunch of teenagers a car for 3 days. So he gave a bunch of teenagers who none of them have their driver's license. So me and my younger sister, who's almost 2 years younger than me, a friend, it was her brother, we'll call her Shay. Shay was about the same age as my sister. And then the other girl was my age. We are just 2 months apart in age. Her birthday's in October. And so she's always, because her birthday's in October, she has that problem of she was always a year behind me in school, even though we're the same age. I was a grade ahead of her and all of this stuff because birthdays, man, birthdays. So I had my learner's permit because I just went through summer school for driver's ed. And so I was fresh with my learner's permit. And we were having fun, and I'd be driving and be like, you got to signal 3 times, and you got to hand over hand. And I would sit there, and the other girl, we'll call her Katie. Katie thought that was totally funny that I would recite my driving. I'd be like, teaching them how to drive, be like, and then, you do this and you do that, and you look 3 times, 1, 2, 3 mirrors, all 3 mirrors, and I would do all that stuff. Well, Shay got in the driver's seat, and this was our neighborhood. We wandered our neighborhood day and night. We knew this neighborhood like the back of our hand, man. Front, back, whatever. This was our stomping ground. This was our neighborhood. We had driven these roads many a time before. We were coming down this road, and the only way to go is this T intersection. There is no straight, because what's straight ahead of you? House. And then a park. As Shay was driving, and I do know that one thing happened while we were driving during the course of the 3 days is the brakes. I don't know if it got air in the lines or ran out of brake fluid, but the brakes were slowly starting to not work. She panicked. There was fault in our thing. I can't remember this memory exactly. I don't remember if it had to deal with the brakes or not. What I do remember is landing in someone's front yard because she hit that T intersection and she didn't know where to go. and she hit. We were inside there. We were on their front lawn. We ended up just parking the car. We had to crash it into her garage wall because the brakes weren't working. So Katie crashed it into the garage wall. I guided her into the garage. We crashed it into the garage wall, ruined her mom's shelving, ruined Shay's mom's shelving, and then parked the car and yelled at the brother for did the car lost its brakes? What kind of car did you give us? Oh, kids, 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 kids. Oh, see, like I said, I'm one of those kids that don't know how I'm still standing here today to talk to you guys, to tell you guys these stories. I'm so glad my kids aren't like that. My kids did not give me this same trouble. But so when I look at Mackenzie's story, I kind of see a you don't see these reckless teenagers hardly anymore because times have changed. Helicopter parents is becoming a bigger thing. When I was growing up being a helicopter parent, you grew up to hate your parent. Katie had kind of one of those moms. And so when you had a helicopter parent, you grew up to hate them because that was so unfair to just not let your kid go and wander and do whatever they wanted to do. And like I said, we lived on the edge of Salt Lake, so we were always at the mall because the mall was a quick 30-minute bus ride away, and we all had bus passes because we went to West High, and West High gave you bus passes. So we weren't in cars too much because when I was 16, I did get my driver's license by September and had a car for about a year, kind of off and on, because I had to keep insurance on it and I didn't have a steady job. Like I was 16 and I looked like a 12-year-old, so I couldn't go to work all the time because, well, first of all, at 16, well, at 16, I guess you could start working more full time. I don't know. Anyways, we usually took the buses though, but we still got in a crap load of trouble. So, anyways, let's talk about Rosie. Rosie and Bubba bug me. I think Mackenzie was on that road because of Rosie. I think Rosie needed something. I think Mackenzie, they're not releasing full text messages between Mackenzie and Dom and Mackenzie and Rosie and everybody else because there's so much reasonable doubt why she was on that road. That she was just a reckless person that should have gotten involuntary. So, what's the difference between voluntary and involuntary manslaughter? Because she should have got voluntary, right? Voluntary manslaughter. Because voluntary manslaughter is when you are doing something illegal, which speeding is illegal. And in that act, you cause somebody to pass away. Now, involuntary manslaughter is if she was going 35 miles per hour down that road somehow. I don't know. Mine and maybe she pulled out to take a left turn on that T and someone came speeding down the other way and nothing was her fault. And they hit her. Because involuntary manslaughter is when you're doing something and you accidentally okay, sorry. So, yeah. So involuntary manslaughter, if I remember right. I used to have this paralegal book when I was going to school for criminal justice, and it defined all the general term, not the state by state term, but the general term. So it's like hard. How do you do it? It's like, how do you do this way in Mackenzie's situation and get involuntary? Because I mean, she was speeding, so that's voluntary manslaughter because she was knowingly committing a crime at the time, so it would have been voluntary. She has 16 charges on her again. What were those 16 charges? Because this is where I explained in my last video the 16 charges come in. So, what was Mackenzie charged? And give me a second, we will go over some videos I saved. Charged with. Okay, so 2 counts of aggravated vehicular homicide. Her parents were like, well, aggravated. Okay, aggravated, I think, is a similar word to voluntary. Probably in their state. Aggravated equals voluntary. Was she committing a crime? Yes. Did she know she was committing a crime? Yes, she knows the speed limit's not 90. Okay, she knows that that's not even, that you can't even go 90 on the freeway. So 4 counts of felonious assault. That's interesting. Only 1 count of possession, huh? Criminal tools related to the car used in whatever. Anyways, they do a shotgun approach. So if she went jury trial and they were like, no, this isn't felonious assault, this isn't worthy of a felony, because there is reasonable doubt there, well, at least can we get 2 counts of aggravated vehicular homicide, and that'll at least put her away for X amount of years. I wonder if was her sentencing 15 to life, so minimum of 15 she can parole out. So it's interesting because she got a similar to, she's serving similar to if she would have gotten vehicular homicide anyways. If she gets out in 15 years, like, there's no way. Here's one thing that why I think, oh, here's a perfect thing. Here is why I think, oh, I got to show you guys this video, okay? Here is why I think she was there, because of Rosie. Okay? This is, let me show you guys this, okay? I got a little bit of evidence for you guys. Okay? Okay, so you remember how she went around this turn? You remember how they said there was a light they said that there was a light in the window. You can see that Dom was on his phone. Okay? Remember, they're a little far from home. Mackenzie doesn't know this area. There's no video of it. Well, I'm running into pictures, not videos. Okay. What was that called? That what I forgot what that street was called. Let's see. What do we got here? Do we got the video? Because this is the. I want you guys to see this. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Let's move this out. Okay.
In the early morning hours of July 31st, 2022, Mackenzie Sherilla drove her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their friend Davion Flanagan after a hangout at a friend's house and slammed into a brick wall at 100 miles per hour, killing both passengers. Mackenzie was convicted of multiple counts of murder, felonious assault, and aggravated vehicular homicide after prosecutors argued she'd intentionally hit the accelerator and never deployed the brakes, though she maintains it was a tragic accident. But what exactly happened in the lead up to the fatal crash? Sherilla had spent that summer hanging out with Dominic and her tight-knit friend group, and what will become their final night all together was July 30th. Per court records, the couple and Davion went to a graduation party hosted by their friend, Kelly Raha, arriving at 10:15 p.m. and bringing together.
Okay. Does it show? Okay, this one doesn't show what I want it to show.
I'm not saying that she wouldn't have hurt them in an accident. Me too late. I think see the act of coming to the brick wall. According to the documentary,
okay, this isn't the video I'm looking for. Okay. Okay, I think it's this one. Okay. Discretion is advised, guys. Okay, hold on. Replace screen share. Okay, let's try this again. Let's see. Okay, watch this. Okay. I thought there was more of a hesitation than that. So yeah, you can see tablet or something. Because I'm thinking they're trying to find Rosie. And so that's why the hesitant turn. Okay, I want to see something.
That ended the lives of Davion Flanagan and Dominic Russo. The videos are from surveillance cameras.
She's riding that line pretty close. I thought maybe she came from the other lane into this lane because she's riding that line
along Progress Road.
It's horrible watching this video. It's just, I don't like watching the crash part. Because I thought she hesitated there for a second, and then you can see Dom on his phone, and maybe they're trying to talk to Rosie, see where Rosie's at. It's 5:30 in the morning. Everybody wants to go home, but they have to meet with Rosie first. And so that's what I kind of think is going on. Trying to think. So, yes. I think they were only over there because a full investigation, they'd be pinging Rosie's cell phone 3 days before and seeing if Mackenzie met up in the same neighborhood with Rosie. Because why was Rosie over here at 6 a.m. naturally? Okay, here, let me go to Discord. I got some videos I saved for you guys to show you what I'm talking about. Let me know if you want my Discord. Okay. Not there. Let's go to crime videos. Okay, let's watch. Okay, this one first. Okay, how do we make this one? I want to make this one big. Okay, hold on.
Think she should be in prison for murder? No.
Yeah, look at that placement.
I'm a forensic scientist and a former CSI. I have investigated crashes, including fatal crashes, pretty similar to the one that Mackenzie Shirilla caused. And I have watched the crash documentary, which came out on Netflix last week. Having said that, do I believe that she should be in prison? Yes. I do not think that she committed murder, and let me explain. So Mackenzie was driving this car, which as you can see is very, very damaged, because it hit a brick wall going 100 plus miles per hour. And obviously when a very fast object runs into an immovable object, you're going to have a big problem. The building that she hit was this building here, and she was traveling down Progress Drive. And there's a stop sign here at this intersection. So you're supposed to be going about 35 miles an hour, stop, and then turn right or turn left. What she did was travel 100 miles per hour. She did not stop until she hit the building, and then she was forced to stop. I have worked a couple of crashes like this in the past, and the ones that come to mind were a very similar intersection, a T-shaped intersection, and instead of there being a building here, there was a house. And in the case that I'm thinking of, the people were traveling down the road at night. It was dark, very similar to what happened with Mackenzie. There's no streetlights out here, there's just a stop sign, and my people were going very fast, probably approaching 100 miles per hour. They were under the influence of...
See, we all kind of know stories like this, only mine, nobody was under the influence. I was just a dumb teen wanting to speed down the avenues.
Alcohol. She was under the influence of THC, and they went through the intersection because they did not realize that they were running out of road. And then they basically hit the edge of the house, went airborne, and catapulted way far away down a hill, landed upside down, and both people in the car died. Now, going 100 miles per hour down that road,
see, do you see the body position?
Is obviously not okay. It's 3 times the speed limit. Driving under the...
That's the biggest thing I wanted to show you about that video is the 3 time the body positioning. I never saw that before. Nobody's been showing that because nobody wants us TikTokers analyzing the position, because they're like, oh, Dom was on top of Davian. No, Davian was on top of Dom. How does that happen? And then what was this video about? Let me see what this video is about, why I saved her video.
Okay, so I watched the crash, Mean Girl Murders, and the Killer Case episode for the Mackenzie Shirilla case. And there's like a piece of evidence that I keep looking back on to try to see if there was like anyone that touched a point on it, and there's not. We all know that when Dominic had an issue with Mackenzie, like to the point where like he thought he was in danger.
Oh yes, this is interesting.
He recorded it. Him and Davion would, you know, hold the phone and record so that way like they could hear and people could see what Mackenzie was saying or how she was treating Dominic. And looking back, I really slowed down the body cam footage. I know that they have it censored out, but Dominic's hand was out the window when police arrived on the scene. So I believe that there's 2 options here. Number 1 is that Davion or Dominic's phone is lodged in the car, in the front of the car, which is, who knows if they could even get to it. Or it is somewhere in that path that she took home. And the only reason I say that is because Dominic's hand was out the window. And I don't know if that was just because of the crash, but I mean, if his phone was in his hand, it could have went anywhere. It could have went flying. It could have went flying out the window while he was trying to save himself in the car. Like, that piece of evidence, it's on one of those phones. And I know it is because he recorded when Mackenzie was trying to break in his house and key his car. So it has to be there.
Yes, they were in trouble.
Some type of video on one of those boys' phones that shows what happened during that crash or before the crash. Like, It's all in there. 100%. But I also want to know why it's never been touched on. Why is it that all the messages that were shown are from Mackenzie Sharilla's phone? Why wasn't it touched at all on, like, where their phones were? Because I really feel like that would show what happened during that crash. I believe that those boys knew that it was going to go south, just like it had in the past, and they would have recorded
sure
it.
on that.
And
Like,
they didn't.
So she's right. If they knew that it was going south and they were fighting and arguing, then Mackenzie then yes, then there's a chance that they might have started recording if they knew it was going to go south. If they knew. Whoops. Okay, sorry. But the thing is, I think it was just her normal recklessness. Her parents should have took away her driver's. Somebody made a video saying that Mackenzie is afraid, or Mackenzie's parents show that they fear her. School teachers and stuff had made videos saying, look, I see this behavior all the time. This definitely is the behavior of somebody whose parents fear their child. And that happens. I've seen that. And when the child rules the parents know the child is reckless, but they're not going to do anything about it, unfortunately. And then that leads to this. There was something I was thinking that, oh yes, that's right. I did write down some of my thoughts, which is good. Okay. But so everybody is fighting. Is she innocent? Is she not? Should she be in prison? Should she not? So first of all, she should have gone down for something. Definitely voluntary vehicular manslaughter. She used a car illegally, inappropriately, causing the death of two people. It's just like drunk driving, basically. You drive drunk in the lives of two people. But I'm going to repeat this again, because here's what I'm thinking. Like I said, we're going to see, because this case, they need people on fire about this case. Why? Because they're making an example out of Mackenzie, okay? And they're doing a good job. People are getting very, very fired up. Oh, yes, there's a couple more questions I do want to ask before we end this. There is. Does anybody know anything about this? Because I found out about this last night. I've been busy this morning. So I have not been able to research this, but this is also what I'm talking about. Dom's the victim, so nobody's talking about this. But something about Dom was under investigation because he broke into a church. He may have been cheating. Something about a girl falling down the stairs. So there's some questions there. A girl falling down the stairs, breaking into a church. So his dad, and I meant to go over this, but the TikTok videos are only 10 minutes. So I only have a certain amount of time to spit things out. And here on YouTube, I can take some time to spit things out. And I could backtrack if I forget something and want to go back again. And I did want to go back to this. Dom's dad said the reason he didn't worry about money was because he was trading currency online. End of story. He doesn't want to talk about his son being a dealer. He doesn't want to talk about anything else because his son is the victim. And yes, his son is the victim. And it doesn't change the fact that his son is a victim. People who do different things like sell substances and break into churches, teens and young adults who do this kind of stuff still can be victims. But the problem is once somebody gets victim status, nobody wants to talk about anything else that was going on in their lives prior to them being a victim. Had Dom not passed away, where would he be today? Well, he was under investigation for all the reckless things he was doing. Maybe Dom pulled the wheel to a hard right because he was done with life. And he thought he'd take out him and Mackenzie and everybody with him. Like, because he was saying his goodbyes, and Mackenzie wasn't. Dom was. At 3 a.m., he told his dad he loved him. You don't just randomly at 3 a.m. text your dad that. Like, Dom had something on his mind. He was texting Mackenzie about anybody can be gone tomorrow, and he wanted to be a boss man. But everybody is under fire because I guess Mackenzie said something about him being the one to pull the wheel to the right. Maybe Mackenzie went to make a left and Dom pulled the wheel to the right, and Mackenzie hadn't even begun to slow down the car yet. Maybe they got in a literal last second fight because Mackenzie was going to... I don't think Dom liked Rosie and Bubba. But we'll never know because we don't have recordings. We don't know what happened in the car. We know that there's one survivor, and that survivor is the driver. And whoever sits in that driver's seat, no matter what happens in that car, what the passengers do or anything, no matter what happens in that car, the person in the driver's seat is responsible. She's the one who floored it to 100 miles per hour. And like I said, let's go back to my ending thought. They are going to make an example out of Mackenzie. Why? Because in 2027, they just voted let's see. Okay, let me show you this real quick. So if you have not seen this, gosh, it's not showing the full page. Let's see. Okay, this is doing a weird layout for me. Because now I want to get rid of this second one. Okay, let's go to... Ugh, I don't like that it's only showing partial screen. We'll do it this way. Don't need to see my face. House vote on car kill switch technology early in January 2026. Advanced impaired driving prevention technology. Prohibit the use of fun. Let's see. Outcome 164. So nays. I'm surprised most of the Democrats did a nay on the kill switch. You can't trust either side because that's an interesting. Kill switch law means your next car could be watching you. An impending regulation could require all new cars to monitor your behavior, specifically whether you are too impaired to drive. The kill switch requirement started in 2021. Oh, gosh, you guys can't see this. Give me a sec. Why? Okay, replace. Screen share. Share. Okay. Kill switch requirement started in 2021 when Congress passed the Halt Drunk Driving Act as part of a broader infrastructure legislation. It received bipartisan support, although many more Democrats voted for it than Republicans. Now it's flipped. The Republicans are voting it and the Democrats are voting it down. So this is so weird that they flip-sided like this. In recent months, several Republicans have tried to repeal the mandate. The law in the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration requiring automakers to install anti-drunken driving technology to ensure the prevention of alcohol-impaired driving fatalities. It's not going to let you drive your car. Well, look at that. They're using Eminem's ex-wife as the poster person right now. She didn't unalive anybody, but Mackenzie Shirilla did. And they need somebody that did. So all it takes is a quick Google or a quick ask to ChatGPT. But remember, they're all programmed to tell you certain things. But this technology will be here next year. Congress has demanded that it be here next year. This is in high demand that Congress get it done. And I don't know. Sorry, just doing something real quick. But yes, here we are. Oops. Oh, sorry, my computer, I was like, what just happened? It just kind of blinked out for a sec. Okay. I'll have to say, I thought I say more videos. I'll have to say more videos, but if you get the right algorithm, they talk about Rosie and Bubba, and no, they were not Dom's friends. They were Mackenzie's friends. They don't even think Dom really liked Rosie. Just like when Mackenzie was in the hospital and she was refusing to really talk to the cops, which people, they get you all fired up about this and they need to stop this. Okay? It is your constitutional right to not talk to the investigator without a lawyer present. And they will try and be like, well, if you just talk to us, then we can, da-da-da-da-da. we just need to get this straightened out. So you're the only person that knows how to straighten this out. They use tactics. Their tactics are great because if you don't know the law, which I don't know how Mackenzie was so prepared for this, because most people make this mistake, they talk. They talk to the officer. And if you don't talk to the officer, what happens? The officer gets mad and they punish you more. And they promise to punish you more if you don't talk to them. If you say no to them, they will promise to punish you more. Our system is not well. It is very corrupt. It is designed to get you to give up your First Amendment right to speech. It is designed to give up your Miranda right. Everybody hears the Miranda right, but they don't understand the words that are being spoken to them. Everybody says, yes, I understand. No, you don't. No, you don't, because they're not telling you you're giving up your First Amendment right. And once you give that up, yes, anything can be held against you in the court of law, and will. But they also don't add on the part that it will be twisted too. So it will be twisted. And that's the worst part, is like, it will be twisted. So it's not that, it's also there we go. Let's see. Oh. So yes, when she was in the hospital and you listen to that, listen to it again, how the cop is slyly trying to get her to give up her First Amendment right. Same with Bubba and Rosie. They did not talk. Us Americans need to quit looking at that like it's a bad thing. And like they do have something to hide, but they probably do, because the way the mom was talking about, don't worry, they're loyal to you. No, Mackenzie, they're loyal. No, Mackenzie, be a person. They're loyal. You know, she kept emphasizing that. She didn't just say they care about you and, you know, they're not talking behind your back. End of story. Like, they're not talking to everyone. They're not saying all this bad stuff about you. You should be proud of them. So end of story. Not like, she kept overly emphasizing. And when you overly emphasize like that, it's because you're trying to get this point across that they are hiding something. And I think Rosie and Bubba are hiding something. And does it mostly have to deal with substances? Probably, possibly, because that's what they were dealing in. Whoops. No. Ugh. I can't even think right now. Anyways, I guess we'll call it here. I do have some more things I want to talk about that I was remember. I should have wrote them down. I need to write them down as soon as it hits, because it's like I need to go over this, and this, because every time I talk about the case, it brings more questions, and I want to know more of the story, and I don't think that this was purposeful. I don't think that this was planned. I think if this was planned, it would have been her and Dom, and Davian wouldn't have been there, because there's no way Davian wanted. He was on a better trip. He was the only one in that car that I can tell of that was on a good track in life. Although we don't have, do we? Probably not, because here's the rule. As long as Mackenzie has the pills, they're not going to drop. Until she exhausts every appeal. And we went through this in the Gypsy Rose community with Nick Go to John. Nick Go to John last year finally exhausted every appeal he had. And once every appeal was exhausted, and he could no longer appeal, and he is now stuck in prison for the rest of his sentence, they dropped the autopsy of Dee Dee Blanchard. Now, Dom and Davian's autopsies will not drop until Mackenzie has exhausted every appeal. I don't get why. Has Chris Watts exhausted every appeal? Because unless Colorado has different laws, because you can get their Bellacicis and Shenan's. So thumbnail, that's what I was thinking of. Hello. I was trying to think of. That's what I was trying to think of. I was trying to think of that, and I didn't even realize that. Okay, let's go to... I did that wrong. Okay. But this case brings so many questions because there's so much evidence out there that's not presented forward. Where's Dom and Davian's cell phones? Where's all their text messages? Like, even Gypsy Rose's complete text messages are out there. They're hiding nothing in the Gypsy Rose case. All her videos with Nick Go to John are out there. Like, everything is out there. Like, oh man, I bet like Gypsy's like a little upset that they're not releasing all of Mackenzie's stuff, because Gypsy Rose has been completely 100% exposed, either by the public or people getting FOIA requests, putting it on Google Drives and sending it out to the community. So yeah. Well, I hope you guys like the live stream. Let me know if it brings up any more questions for you. I do check my comment section. I need to check. I haven't checked it in a couple days, but I do check my comment section when I'm not streaming, and I do answer. And if you bring up good comments, it will bring up another video that I will go research. I will look it up. I will figure out. Let me know if you're having all these similar questions. What side are you on? Is it she's guilty of something? It's either voluntary manslaughter or it's murder. And I just don't. I think they were there for Rosie. Rosie lives in that area or frequents that area. Or there are people who are scared of getting caught dealing, and so they'll meet in way off places that neither person lives in. That was not a residential zone where they were going. It was industrial. So yes, 35 miles per hour industrial. Why would they meet in industrial? Because cars don't traffic industrial, especially on a weekend, because nobody's at work. So industrial areas are perfect. No cops, no people, no nothing. Nobody was out there. That car wasn't found for over an hour, because that's how untrafficked these places are. And so, yes, it is not unusual for someone to want to meet up it's not unusual for someone to, when they're dealing, to meet in an off place. And maybe Rosie was one, she was supposed to meet them around 6 a.m. And so maybe that's why she was in that area. And she was like, oh, ooh, bad crash. Yucky. And she's like, I don't want to be a part of that. Because when you're dealing, you don't want to be anywhere that cops are about to be. And so I bet you where is the surveillance video on that one where Rosie's car comes down? Was it Progress Road or something like that? I want to see that surveillance video when Rosie's car comes down at 6 a.m. and leaves. Because if they have Mackenzie on there at 5:30, they have Rosie on there. There's so much evidence the police aren't releasing. There's so much evidence that they either haven't gathered or have gathered and not releasing, and they're hiding, which cops are known to do that. And that's what I talk about mostly on my TikTok channel, is the corruption in the system where cops would do this. There's that case, maybe I should do a video on this, that case where it's debatable whether the brother or the sheriff's department unalived a 17-year-old girl while she was home alone with her baby. And then 10 years goes down the road, and everybody is accusing this corrupt cop, and some are accusing the brother. And then a storage unit goes up for auction, for sale, and this guy buys it. And when he gets into the storage unit, it's all of the case stuff taken from the house and hidden in the storage unit. That should be in an evidence locker somewhere. And now it's tainted evidence. And how can they use it? Because it's tainted. It's been touched by so many people. And the owner of the storage unit was the sheriff. Cops do this. Cops hide evidence. You want to talk about everybody doesn't believe that Scott Peterson is innocent. They never investigated Lacey's disappearance. They honed their radar in on Scott Peterson, and they watched him for months until the remains washed up 24 hours apart from each other, a mile apart somehow, in just the place that they needed, down current from where Scott Peterson said he was fishing. They needed the remains to wash up there. So who put the remains there? Was it Scott Peterson? His boat would have capsized if he tried. Then they took that evidence out of court. They would not allow the courts to show the evidence that the boat he was in, had he thrown his pregnant wife overboard, would have capsized. And then he would have been dripping wet when he came back to the harbor, which there was so many witnesses at the harbor that saw him dock the boat into the water and retrieve the boat from the water at the docks. Nobody was concerned about remains in the boat. He is so very alibied that I think he knew that somebody else did it, and I think he knows that her DNA is on that mattress. And I think he knows what happened to her, and I think he doesn't care because he's a horrible guy, and he's cheated on her from the moment he asked her out. He's never been faithful to her. It wasn't just with Amber Fry. He's a serial cheater. But anyways, there are so many cases we could go over where the cops have gotten tunnel vision, focused on only one person, did not do the full investigation, and possibly hid evidence. And that's my theory, and that's my thoughts, because that's what I've seen being in the crime community, researching crime, having a degree in criminal justice, researching crime for school, and digging for the truth instead of the surface stories that everybody gets. Like, we can go over Marilyn Manson and talk about that he's innocent too. And that's a crazy line to end on. But let me know if you want me to cover that story. I think I've covered it on my channel in the past, but it's probably so far deep down in all the Gypsy Rose stuff I've covered that I could possibly find the video where I talk about it. And also the JonBenet Ramsey case, where I thought the parents did it, but it's the same thing as Marilyn Manson. And I did a fabulous video on how Nicole Brown Simpson is connected to Princess Diana. And I theorized who. However, that theory has been also wrecked because of Marilyn Manson, JonBenet Ramsey. And how is Princess Diana and Nicole Brown Simpson connected to Marilyn Manson? And it sounds so wrong to say Marilyn Manson. I want to say Marilyn Manson. Charles Manson. Sorry, I'm saying the wrong name. I am. I'm like, Rose, that's the wrong name. Charles Manson. Charles Manson is innocent. So how is Charles Manson connected to JonBenet Ramsey, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Princess Di? I could do a whole video on that one, and we could go over that one, because why is everything all connected? Because it is. It's all connected. And we could go over those conspiracy theories of why it's all connected. So let me know if you want to go over that, because I will be happy to go over all of that. I will. All right, love you guys. I will see you later. And we'll make more videos later about more cases. We'll do current cases. We'll dig in the back. I also wrote down another case that I want to look into that I just barely saw something on TikTok about it. Very interesting. Want to go into that. Plus, there's more cases here in Utah that just happened. Like the lady who wrote a book after her husband died, and then it turns out she's the one who unalived him. So, way to go. Wrote a book. Got some sympathy for about a year here in Utah before we just now sent her to jail, to prison for life. So I will be doing Utah specific. I will be doing a series of Utah specific cases. So you guys have a good day, and we will get to all these cases later. Like, I got a channel to fill up with cases, and we'll get it done.